Good, ready?
This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law. In accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. This meeting of March 3rd, 2025 was published in the Courier News and Star Ledger and placed on the borough's website and the bulletin board at Borough Hall. A copy of this notice is available to the public, and a copy of this statement shall be included in the minutes of this meeting. Mayor Brian Gallagher.
Here.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Here.
Andrew Conti,
Here.
Glenn Deney,
Here.
Randy Pitts,
Here.
Gina Stravic,
Here.
Roger Vroom.
Here. Please stand for the salute to the flag, and please remain standing afterwards. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just ask everybody to please remain standing for a moment. Somerville lost two very big parts of our community over the last week and a half or so. Glenn Barry, who was a long-standing member of the Somerville First Aid and Rescue Squad, and Leroy Gunzelman, who was also a long-term member of the Rescue Squad as well as the Central Hook and Ladder Company. Their impacts on our community are immeasurable. These are two men who dedicated their entire lives to this borough. This is what mattered to them, their Somerville. And I would like to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, can we have an approval of a motion for approval of the minutes of February 18?
Seconded.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Abstain.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Deney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay, as a part of business, I just want to let folks know, if you are here regarding the public hearing for ordinance number 2755, which is amending the chapter 1024 of the Borough Land Use and Development Code regarding definition of deck and identifying the improvement coverage for pools and decks. I'm going to ask the council for a motion to table that for a future date to be determined. We are going to have additional discussions between the planning board, the council, and the environmental commission to I guess, further solidify that ordinance. So I'd like to ask, I'll bring that forward, and I'll ask for a motion to table.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Deney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay, departmental reports and notices. We do have the Board of Education referendum vote next week. It's March 11th, 2025. The polling locations are at Somerville High School and Vanderveer Elementary School, and the polls are open at 6 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. And that is a great segue to bring up representatives from our Board of Education to give us an overview presentation of the referendum project, which I think is very good for the council to understand, as well as our public out there in social media land, so they can understand what it is. So with us tonight, we have Board President Bill Kimmick, our Superintendent J.R. Labisco, our Business Administrator Brian Boyce, and Board Member Jamie Kraska. So J.R., come on up, and Brian.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
So as they're getting prepped and ready, the borough and the board have always had a very good and very strategic relationship. We share services amongst ourselves. There's an open door policy between the board, the superintendent's office, and administration, and my office as well. And it's been a great relationship that has evolved over the last 20-plus years, at least that I've been involved. And I don't know that it was always as pleasant in years past, way back when, but we've always had a wonderful working relationship Brian, I've been working with for 23 years. I've known Bill for about the same time, and Jamie for probably about 15 years. And the working relationship developing with JR is along those same exact lines. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys. Red light means on.
We're good. Thank you, Mayor. We really appreciate you allowing us to come and share this really important information about the upcoming vote on the 11th. I want to thank President Vroom for helping and participating in our communications committee. I want to thank Mayor Gallagher for always being a sounding board for this process. You know, from my first day, August 1st on, we've had discussions regarding this, and I really appreciate that insight and understanding of the town and where everybody was. With that said, Brian and I are here to share some really important information, and that's really what we've been trying to do. The board made it a priority to put together a package of projects that were really important and reflected our long-term project planning. And the idea was to make sure that we, first of all, ensure the highest quality educational spaces for our students, while also understanding the infrastructural needs of our buildings. We have some older buildings, and we need to stay on top of those for their well-being. So this is a package of those, and it represents needs that the district has, and it also prioritizes some spaces that haven't been looked on since the buildings were built. And that's what we're going to go into today. So we want to give a little overview to it, but I do want the council to understand that this was a rigorous process that even started prior to me coming on as superintendent on August 1st. And it's always been a real focus of our Board of Education, our business administrator, our director of buildings and grounds, and the architects that we work with to plan well in advance so that we aren't springing things on the public and we aren't having surprises that would really put us in a tough spot. And what we're trying to do here is package together, like I said, some really important projects, but also take advantage of some opportunities that the state presents when packaging them in a referendum. So with all that said, we're going to overview that for everybody here. Again, our top priority has and will be continued to be to get information out to the public so that they can make a decision that's in the best interest of them and their family. We have a one-stop shop website, and if you haven't been there, really easy to find. You just go to our school site, and there's plenty of links there. It has everything you could possibly need to know about the referendum project. And a really important component of that, too, is that it's active and it's constantly evolving. So as we face new questions and receive new inquiries from the public, we add that information to the website so that everybody has the same information to make those decisions. And that's been a real priority that the board empowered Brian and I with. And what we've been doing as we've kind of been making a tour of anyone that'll have us in Somerville. We've done that for the last couple weeks. We'll continue to do it right up until the vote. And we're here for anything that people might need. And you can still send those questions directly into Brian and I through the website so that we can answer those in real time. And one last thing before we get into the presentation. Tomorrow is another opportunity for the public to ask any question they might have of us during a virtual forum. We had an in-person one at the school, very well attended. Almost 75 people from the public were there, in which we did a presentation, a Q&A, followed by a tour of some of those spaces that are going to be worked on. We're going to be doing a virtual version of that tomorrow night. So if anyone has any questions, if they want to pop on and learn more about the projects, they can do so tomorrow at 7. And that link for the Zoom is found on our website.
Great. Excellent.
All right. Right. So, with that said, the urge has been and will continue to be for people to have as much information they can so that they can make a decision that's best for their family on March 11th. We want everyone in Somerville to get out and vote. It's really important. The benefits of packaging it in a referendum, as I had said, and putting it out to vote to the public, is that we can take advantage of state aid that's only available through a referendum vote. So if we went about these projects through a traditional budget, and all of the costs would fall completely onto the district and the taxpayers. By taking advantage of a referendum, we can gain $7.3 million in state aid. and it can only be accessed through a referendum vote. There are spaces that are original to the building in the high school in particular, 1970s, and that is the science labs and auditorium. So those are spaces that are larger in an undertaking for an upgrade and a renovation, and are a little bit on the costlier side. I shouldn't say a little bit, they are on the costlier side and would be very difficult and challenging to put into a normal operating budget, and that's why it's packaged in this referendum. The project cost would be spread over time, and the homeowner borrowing would allow us to do that and spread those costs out. And there's some other parts to it which we'll break down in later slides that talk about a new gymnasium and turf field that would expand opportunities for students, and activities like athletics, band, and color guard. So when we look at the highlights of the project, it falls into two questions. Our Board of Education over the course of the fall had discussed and deliberated over what those questions would look like. Eventually they came to a conclusion to package many of the projects that were available and eligible for the state aid into question one, to maximize the amount of state aid that was available. As you can see, $7.2 million in state aid is available to the projects that fall into question one. So each of the buildings will have attention in question one, and you can see from these highlights, in the high school, we're talking about 5 science labs. If you were a graduate of the 1970s in Somerville, they are the same exact science labs that are being used today. It's an unfortunate reality of what's going on in those spaces, and we want to take the opportunity here in this referendum to update those. The second would be the auditorium. Again, a wonderful space, one that is maximized and utilized by our outstanding drama and musical groups, but they are original. And if you've been in those spaces, not from the carpeting to the seating, to the walls, to the light, the sound, everything needs that update. Now, Brian and the Board of Education have updated components of it, with lighting and sound, but not to the quality that we want to provide our students for those really top-notch programs that we have utilizing them. The middle school and the elementary school, the first item on each of those you can see match. And what we want to do is have a security vestibule, or what they call a man trap, put into both those spaces like we have in the high school. That is best practice when it comes to safety and security in our buildings, and we want to make sure that they have those in those 2 schools as well. What that would do is basically have an extra layer of security, where the person would have to be buzzed into a second space before they would have access to the entire school. There's also the addition of an ADA lift in the middle school. So if you've been in the middle school, that's the oldest of our buildings, and one that, to get that security vestibule, we also wanted to go that extra step with the ADA lift. There are roof areas of the middle school, air conditioning and ventilation that need updating in that space. If you've been in the auditorium for any type of production, it's an absolutely beautiful space, but it is warm, to say the least. The gymnasium has the same issue. A beautiful old space, the old high school gymnasium. It's large, it's great, but it gets very warm as well. Vanderveer Elementary, already talked about the security vestibule, but you have the multi-purpose room, which again is very outdated, and our students are in there all of our students are in there every single day. That's where they have lunch. That's where we do have some of our gym classes taking place, but that needs that update as well. And there, if you've ever been in the back, there are those C boxes there that are used for storage. So there would be a new steel storage building and a multi-sport turf field that we'd want to certainly take advantage of. If you've ever been back there, and if you know much about that space, it is a problem when it comes to drainage. So this part of the project, we're really excited about how much of it became eligible for the state aid, and that was really with the engineering component of it, getting proper drainage in there, making it so that that will be and can be utilized every day, all the time, from morning to night. And that's really the beauty of that space, is that it would be a baseball, softball infield, and then the outfield would be a multi-sport space. And this was something that our students obviously can take advantage of. Our students at Vanderveer can take advantage of it during the school day for recess, And then, of course, partnerships with the community utilizing that space. We'd want the baseball and softball to have movable base paths so you can adjust to different ages. And of course, we'd look at the mound as well, so that would be both baseball and softball eligible, right? So here are some of those pictures. If you haven't been in those spaces lately, we just wanted to show some of them to you. So you have an example of the high school science lab, right? A rendering of the auditorium if updated. Here is an original, a current picture of the multipurpose room at Vanderveer. You can see quite outdated. On the left, you'll see the C boxes, and on the right, what would replace them for storage. And here's the space I was talking about with the proposed turf field. As you can see by it, the outfield would be that multi-sport space, and then you have the baseball, softball infield. So this would be something that could be utilized all year round by all athletic programs. And then the next step, let's not forget, not just athletic programs, but you have your marching band that could access that space, your flag groups, and many others. So that's an important space and one that would benefit not only athletes, but also the arts as well. Question 2 is a little bit different. And again, the board deliberated what the questions would look like. We packaged the projects that would be state aid eligible into question 1. Question 2 does not have the same eligibility, right? 7.2 was for the first question. We're talking about a much lower number for question 2 for a total of 7.3. So with that said, this would transform our high school in athletics. A state-of-the-art 24,000 square foot gymnasium that would have other support spaces inside of it. All athletic programs and community and rec programs would be able to take advantage of this space. It would improve scheduling for athletic events. You have seating for 700 fans, storage facilities for athletic equipment. You have training facilities, team locker rooms, concession stands, a new Hall of Fame area, and a weight room. So this would really transform the educational and athletic opportunities for our students. And it's not just for athletes, but all students that would be able to benefit from that. This is a rendering of what the gym would look like. And here is kind of a sketch of what the blueprint could look like. Now, when we talk about any of these projects, they're all in their infancy in terms of what it would look like. So this is this could obviously be adjusted. But when you go into this process, we have the rendering of what it could look like. And then, of course, once, if the project were to pass, then we go back with the architects and drill down a little bit closer and tighter onto what it would look like. So what I wanted to just give everybody here was a general overview of what the projects would look like, the benefits for our students, and really the needs that our buildings have. But what we've really learned through this entire process is that there are other important aspects and pieces of information that people need. So we've heard that loud and clear from the public, and that's why these next few slides Brian is going to share with you really focus on the demographics and the finance aspects. So I'm going to turn things over to Brian, and he'll share some of that information with you.
Thank you, JR, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to come speak to you in person about this referendum. When we were in the beginning stages of talking about a referendum, one of the first things we did was we commissioned a demographic study. Obviously, that was going to be a major piece of information for us to plan around. We had a demographer come in, and it's typically done in a 5-year projection. So we had a 5-year projection from 24-25 to 28-29. The way he did it is he created a set of baseline projections, which were projections without consideration to any housing projects that were going on, both in Somerville and Branchburg. And then he did a second projection which did factor in that piece of information. So he, in the end, came up with a projection that, as far as we could tell here, that the projections are that any increases that we're going to see in student growth is primarily due to Branchburg and their housing developments going up there. And I'll talk a little bit about what he saw in Somerville in particular, since that would be of particular interest to you all, I would think. But Just so you all know what it concluded, at Vanderveer School, the enrollment at Vanderveer School is projected to decline over the next 2 to 3 years and then stabilize. At the middle school, it's actually projected to decline over the course of the entire 5 years. Not by a whole lot, but it's a decline the whole way through. At the high school, we are going to see a decline for the next 2 to 3 years, and then it's going to reverse trend and start to increase past to where we are at this point, but not to where we were in 2018-19. So that was obviously the building that we wanted to look at the most closely, the one that we knew we were going to see enrollment growth in. And then this report also, it's important to point out that it is the worst case scenario. It assumes that all of these housing projects in both towns actually materialized. And in Branchburg, I think in particular, and I'm not sure about some of the ones in Somerville, we didn't really know for sure whether they were actually going to happen. So this report that we received actually assumes everything went forward. Yeah, so the way he did Somerville was interesting because he developed a specific tailored student yield based on projects that had already happened and just recently finished. For instance, Soma, 6 North, Davenport, Somerville Park, Station House, and the Avalon at Somerville Station. So we saw very few students from what amounted to 818 units there. So 21 students to be exact. So what he did was he took that student yield and he applied it to similar configurations in units that were to be constructed in town. For those that were of similar configuration, and not all were. Like I believe you have some market rate townhomes, 2 and 3 bedrooms in one space in one of these developments, right? So for those housing projects, he could not use that yield, but it was tailored. That's the point to Somerville, and it did show that we're not going to see a lot of students coming from the housing developments in Somerville, but we will see some from Branchburg. We'll see more from Branchburg. So on to the financial information. Question 1 alone, if we just look at question 1, which is the $23.2 million total project cost with $7 million in state aid to offset that $23 million, we're looking at a net tax decrease of $12 per month. And I want to explain how a $23 million referendum could result in a $12 million decrease in taxes. So if you look at your the school tax bill portion of everybody's property taxes, it's made up of a operating fund levy and a debt service fund levy. The debt service fund levy is what we're talking about. That is $425 for an average assessed home in town, which is $275,734 assessed value, and you all know the difference. So of that tax bill, $425 is for previous referendum. 2 previous referendums, one in 2004 and one in 1998, both of which are going to drop off in debt. And that's one of the big reasons why we chose this particular time to do this referendum, is because we had debt falling off. So taxpayers would feel it less, okay? So in addition to the state aid that we can now enjoy, which we can't be guaranteed to enjoy 3, 4, or 5 years down the road. So that $425 is going to fall off. The biggest chunk of that is falling off in this fiscal year. The smaller chunk is falling off in 2029. If question 1 passes, that $425 will be replaced by $277 for the year for an average assessed home owner. So that difference is $148 divided by 12, gets you to $12 decrease for the debt service portion of homeowners' bill for school taxes. Now, if question 1 and 2 pass, because there's not a scenario where question 2 alone passes. Question 1 has to pass for question 2 to pass. So under the scenario of questions 1 and 2 passing, that is a $14 increase per month for an average assessed homeowner in town. $14 a month is calculated by that $425 I mentioned to you before is replaced by $593. The difference there being $168. divided by 12 gives you the $14 per month increase for question 1 and 2 passing. This is just a slide to illustrate the difference between market value and assessed value, something you all know quite well. And those are actual examples on the slide there. I believe from talking with your tax assessor, you're at about 63.5% of market value, your assessed value in town. But those are some actual examples of the difference between assessed value and market value. This slide is just meant to point out the investment we have made in school budgets with our facilities. Over the past 5 years, we have done almost $25 million in capital projects in our annual school budgets. And of that $24.9 million, we were able to receive $6.8 million in grants to offset that $25 million. But the point in the slide is that we are investing in our facilities on an annual basis for 2 reasons, really. First of all, staff and students don't have to live with slowly declining buildings over a period of time, but also because it's a property tax thing. If we're able to include capital projects in our annual budgets, it's that much more we can push off a referendum. If we weren't able to do this on an annual basis, or if we did not do it on an annual basis, then we would be looking at referendums more frequently and also in higher dollar amounts. So, and this pace of spending existed for the last 20 years I can speak to. So it's a high priority. The Board of Education has supported and encouraged us to do that. We were able to receive grants along the way. The 3 classroom addition at Vanderveer that you guys probably have seen over there for a preschool, that's a $5 million project. We received exactly 40% or $2 million for that project to offset that cost. So we've done very well with grants in the annual budget. But regardless, we wanted to keep up with capital projects in the annual budget because it just helps push off referendums and the dollar amounts of referendums.
So I think what we have here is a real advantage in having someone as stable in the business administrator chair as a Brian here. We're blessed to have that because what you've seen is a real commitment to trying to do the most ahead of time so that there aren't these surprises, that there aren't a lot of times we come here asking for the public to pass a referendum. And taking advantage of all these different opportunities that the state does present itself allows us to not have to go out to referendum in 20 years. And the Board of Education really looked closely at the type of projects that were included here, especially in question 1, wanting to maximize the dollars that would come back from the state. And what we have here for the public is one to consider that will really benefit all the students in all of the buildings. So, as we've said from the beginning, the most important thing people can do, and the most important job we have is to get everybody informed and have the same information so when they make a decision on March 11th, it's done with all of the information. We're here, obviously, for anyone and any question they have leading up to the 11th. They can contact us through the virtual forum tomorrow, or they can go right online and submit questions to us, and we answer those as quickly as possible. So we really thank the council for their time and for allowing us to come and share this with the public. I think it's important that this information get out there in a variety of different avenues and spaces and ways. So if there are any questions, we'd love to answer them. If not, we encourage people to go on tomorrow to the virtual forum or to get out and vote on the 11th. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that was a very well-informed, well-done presentation. I'll have a few comments at the tail end. I just want to open up to council to see if they have any comments or questions. Yeah, Teresa?
I just have a question. I'm not really into sports. I know very little about it. Can you explain why you feel that having turf fields are better than not turf fields?
Sure. So,
and let me preface that in saying that the only thing I know about turf fields is that I read somewhere that it causes more serious injuries when played on turf fields. So that's why I'm wondering what's the benefit.
Sure. So the benefit of a turf field is the frequency of use. When we look at the old Vanderveer field, if it rained, we might be off that field for a week at a minimum. And then you have to use it sparingly because the grass, was fragile. And I'm going to be honest, as someone who coached my entire life and has been involved with athletics, what you see is that those fields can only be used for a finite amount of time throughout the year. So if we had our athletic director here, Tim Davis, he'd be actually able to walk you through how little those fields are able to be used, because we don't get the proper, I guess the springs aren't what they used to be, if you will. There's a lot more rain. We're not getting, the type of, I guess, what's the best way to put this, Brian? We're having issues with the frequency of, with drainage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In the spring, we're not able to use them very often, which is baseball, softball season, very much needed. I would add that if our athletic director was here, the other, the benefits of the turf field is you give more opportunities for students to participate in athletics. And there's, he would talk to you about how much more successful students do academically when they have the opportunity to participate in athletics. And that's a big thing in Somerville High School, whether it be clubs or sports. There's, we have a very high percentage of students involved in, and the administration there think that's important for the students' success academically too.
See, just to add to that, because I did go to the public session at the high school, and there was a resident who asked the question about drainage.
Yes.
And because that area does have some water issues in that whole neighborhood, it's my neighborhood. And I found it very intriguing, so if you want to just maybe talk to that.
So the question actually was I think about previous projects in the past that were turf. They actually caused a detriment in terms of if there was excess water, where it would be, where that watershed would go. And what has happened, and our architect went into great detail on this, was the real advances in the engineering component of that, and that these guys factored in that part into the engineering. So part of the reason why the engineering is such a heavy lift and a large cost is because it's going to be able to accommodate a large amount of water and not spread, cause any issues in the neighborhood. So that is, the biggest part of that, and that was the part that became more eligible for state aid.
It'll actually reduce the amount of water going into that little stream that comes down to Union Avenue. It retains the water and then releases it back slowly.
There are certain regulations that require it to only be discharged at a certain quantity at a time.
Yeah. Any others? Any other questions? No? Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could, class of 93, I was wondering if you could talk about the current gym limitations and why the high school would benefit from a new one. I saw the plans, but
Absolutely.
thanks.
So what we're finding with our gymnasium usage is a logjam based upon the number of participants, as Brian said, that are interested in athletics, thereby limiting, space and availability. And what's happening is that our athletes are having to go till very late at night to gain access to the gymnasium, just for participation. It also then doesn't allow as many community partnerships as Brian and I have talked about that this new gymnasium would open up. It would allow our student athletes to be done at an earlier time to get home to work on their schoolwork and anything else that they're involved with. We also had our robotics advisor, who's also involved with the drama and many other things, speak to the advantages of having our students scheduled for athletics at an earlier time that would have on those other programs that students participate in, as well as athletics a lot of times. What he's finding is that certain students involved in robotics, certain students involved in the drama, let's say, are having conflicts because of the athletic scheduling. So by having the extra gymnasium space, we were able to get our athletes in sooner, even consider other athletic programs if those opportunities presented themselves, but then also partner with the community more and allow more of that, that partnership to take place.
Yeah, when JR first broached the subject, second time we met, actually,
Yes.
I believe, we talked a little broadly about that, and how, the perception of if this is to pass, how do we engage so that it becomes community-based and not just
Yes.
school-based? And, preliminary discussions, but very amenable to talking further about that.
Absolutely.
And how can our recreation programs integrate with education programs? So, any others? So, all right, so, just a couple of things. What I found very interesting, and the previous Mayor Sullivan and I were both in the audience, and when the demographic information came up, and it showed that the population, the school-age population in Somerville is actually declining, that both Vanderveer and the middle school are going down. It is something from the council table and from the planning board that we have been talking about in terms of how we've calculated our development and what types of development we are bringing into Somerville. And it's an outside party, and unbeknownst to us, so it's actually very gratifying to see that your numbers further confirm what we've been talking about for 20 years. Having said that, there will be people who still won't believe your numbers because they just don't believe them. But I think it's of significant point to note that you know, we've calculated our development in mind with the impact on the schools. So having said that, I've watched this now twice, and I've gone on the website. I think you've done a very, very good job of condensing all of your information, you know, both the construction elements and the financial elements, into a very cohesive, concise information points, which allows people to understand what it is you're talking about. Whether they agree with it or not is up to them, but they can understand what you're talking about. And make an informed decision. And I think you've done that extremely well. The one-sheeter that you have it encapsulates everything that you've talked about. You know, Somerville is a very desirable place to live. And that's not through accident. It's by design. And this is a design that started 25 years ago, and we're seeing that success now. You showed the market value versus the assessed value, and you know, the market value of our homes in the last 10 years has just skyrocketed. And that's a good thing. You know, one of the first things people ask, they want to see their downtown, they want to know about recreation programs, they want to know about crime in the community, and they want to know how good the schools are. So, you know, there's been investments made in every aspect of this community, and it's up to individuals to decide now, next week, on this next investment. So I thank you for coming in. I thank you for putting together a very cohesive package that's easily understandable by the public, and I would encourage everybody to educate themselves and vote, and get out there and vote. And I appreciate the decades of service, both at the board level and at the administrative level. And while you're here a short time, 8 months or so, your experience beyond that is decades. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for coming in and helping to inform both the council and the public out there. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thanks.
appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. You don't have to stay.
Can I interest anyone in a one-sheeter?
I think those would be very helpful for the council. I think they're good. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you letting us come in. I didn't mean to
Ah.
give you that shit. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. We'll carry on. We'll go into committee reports. Andrew.
Met with the Historic Advisory Committee this since our last meeting, and we spent a lot of time talking about the fire museum and portico repairs, as well as a presentation by the police department on the artifacts and things that they have in the police headquarters now that they'd like to carry forward to a kind of a trophy case or museum area in the new space. So a lot of discussion about the history they have there, which was great. And I do have to say that bleeds into my next comment on policing. I have to say, we have had some public comments on enforcement, and I have to say, I've seen the police out there doing more on Grove and Bridge, and it's got to be commendable, because they're out there all day and night stopping people at this point. So, thank you.
Good. Gina?
Just to follow up, the rescue squad family did give Glenberry a good rescue squad going away. So I'd like to acknowledge that again, as we did a moment of silence. Hence, I do not have their statistical report. They were busy for Friday and Saturday. But, and I have no report for the Health Committee, Board of Health.
Thank you. Glenn?
Okay, so it has been an exciting beginning of March here for the fire department, because as of March 1st, all the apparatus has been moved and the equipment to the new emergency services facility. So the trucks are there. They've already responded from there. So they are waiting for a few more gear lockers and some hose racks to be delivered and installed. But they are functionally operating out of that building. The maintenance department has moved over there as well, and so has the fire officials. So busy and exciting times right there.
That's great.
The February responses, there were 46 responses for the fire department, and 7 of them were fires, 5 structure fires, 1 cooking fire, 1 vehicle fire. And just to date, they have been busy. 106 calls for this so far this year, which is a 10% increase from last year. So we thank them for all their hard work and all their organization in getting that building up and going, and everyone else who supported that. So
Great.
it's great.
All right.
Environmental, we'll be meeting next Tuesday at 7 o'clock right here. But the first quarterly newsletter has come out, so it has a highlights and includes a lot of different dates and important things. I'll just touch on a couple. Saturday, March 29th, there will partnering with the Wallace House to learn about invasive species and historical significance there. And then also on Monday the 31st, right here at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center, there'll be a seminar on New Jersey's changing climate. And then also thinking ahead to spring, we had a couple days that teased us with it. So think about April 26th and Earth Day and the Green Fair. So save the date for that as well. And as always, you can follow the Somerville Environmental Commission on the socials, Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mayor.
Teresa?
Thank you. I have quite a bit, so I'll try to keep it brief. Somerville Public Library, in addition to the weekly story times and library, the library is hosting some great community events this week. Tomorrow, March 4th at 10:30 a.m. in the program room is English Conversation Group. You can practice speaking English in a friendly setting for intermediate level English speakers. March 8th at 11 a.m. in the program room is Intro to Native Plant Gardening, presented by Jason Goldman of Flower to the People. And March 8th, also 2 p.m. in the program room, Understanding and Using Your Health Insurance, presented by the Center for Family Services. You can register online or at the library front desk to attend any of the upcoming events. The Somerset County Municipal Alliance Commission is featuring several free substance use prevention webinars in March, and I will be posting those to the community pages on Facebook so that people can register. And the Somerville Middle School will be hosting their annual 8th grade Challenge Day this Wednesday, March 5th from 8:30 to 3 p.m. Challenge Day is a day-long experiential workshop for the 8th graders. Participants experience powerful connections of belonging across lines of difference and move forward creating the culture they want in their school. This program is once again being sponsored by the Somerville Youth Services Commission. Also, the Memorial Day Parade Planning Committee met, and we are well underway to creating another wonderful parade this year. We had a really great turnout last year, and we're hoping for even a better turnout this year. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a police update. On December 15th, 2024 at 8:21 p.m., Somerville officers responded to East Cliff Street and Culver Street, where they found a 20-year-old Borough resident seriously injured after being struck in a marked crosswalk. The driver of a white Chrysler 300 fled the scene without assisting the victim. Days later, officers located the suspect's vehicle with damage matching the crash. The register owner initially provided false information, but further investigation identified the actual driver. Both individuals have been arrested and charged with criminal and traffic offenses. Their appearances in court are pending. Tremendous job by our Somerville Police Department in their investigations and swiftly identifying those responsible and ensuring justice for the victim. Thank you.
Great, fantastic, good stuff. Roger?
So for recreation soccer, the registration is open for grades 1 through 8. Deadline to register is March 10th. We also are offering the NJ Santos Rush Spring Soccer Clinic and Games for ages 4 through 7, where students can work on skills and ball control and technical drills and having games to practice and work on those skill sets. It will be from April 12th through May 24th on Saturdays at the Carol Pager Sports Complex. It is $66 per child, and it includes a t-shirt. Registration will be accepted from, it's already started, but from February 27th through April 4th, and that is available on our Community Pass website. So you can go to the Somerville Recreation page and find the Community Pass website and sign up there. Any questions, you can call Kathy at the Borough, 908-704-6985, or kgurnt@somervillenj.org.
Okay, great, thank you. Awesome. Item number 9 is a proclamation regarding Irish American Heritage Month for 2025. I will take that and I will get that to the appropriate, I believe, the Ancient Order of Hibernians. That, or I could give it to Rich O'Neill. That's, discussion. Item number 10 is removing parking spaces on West High Street on the northeast corner. It's a typo. It says northwest, but it should be the northeast corner of Davenport and West High Street in front of the middle school parking lot. Teresa, you want to take that one on?
Sure, thank you. So the Public Safety Committee met last month, and the main discussion point was traffic safety, pedestrian safety. We had asked Officer Chudy to put together a report for us regarding just how many accidents take place at that corner, West High Street and Davenport, by the middle school. Interestingly, he let us know that that corner has had the highest number of crashes in Somerville within 1 year. So within 1 year, there were 14 accidents reported just at that one corner, and that is the highest number in the entire town. So it led to a discussion on how we can make that intersection safer for everyone involved. I mean, there's children crossing there during the school day, or beginning and end of the school day. Lots of traffic going to Main Street, going to the high school. And what we came up with the help of Officer Chudy, was saying, the visibility at that intersection is really terrible. So when you're coming up the hill on Davenport, crossing over West High Street, a lot of the accidents are caused by people not stopping at the stop signs, and speeding as well on West High Street. But the visibility at that corner is terrible. I can attest to it. I deal with it every single day. So one of the solutions we came up with was getting rid of those 3 parking spaces on the corner, and also speaking with the crossing guard, to not park in the lined spots, because that's causing a lot of visibility issues. But yeah, so that's where we're at. That's what brought this on.
Well, I think it's a great recommendation. This is the first, I think, of many recommendations coming out of the Public Safety Committee, and I concur. I think when you're traveling southbound on Davenport and coming up to West High, all the other 3 corners, the parking is pushed back. They're at least 50 feet off of the corner, except for the northeast corner. We still have 3 parking spaces there. So people are either inching, their noses are inching out, or they're doing the Hollywood roll through the stop sign. and not realizing that there's a car coming. So I think it's a great thing, and if council has no objection, we'll put it on for ordinance amendment at our next meeting. Good? All right, good. Sold. Good work.
Thank you.
All right, item number 11 is CDBG, Community Development Block Grant discussion. As part of Community Development Block Grant applications, we are required to hold a public hearing on each application that comes through, whether they're part of the borough or not. So that's what these are intended to do. The first one is the Safe and Sound Somerset, a mobile case management for housing and economic stability, seeking $35,000. The Borough of Somerville for Carol Pager Park ball field improvements in the amount of $125,000. And the Zufall Health Center common space floor replacement. Do we have a value on that, Kevin?
We didn't have a value at the time of the printing.
Okay.
The maximum they could apply for is 125, so they were
So it would be
waiting on
max.
their engineering's estimate.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So I will ask council for a motion to open for public comment.
So moved?
Discussion, roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, public comment on any of those three is now open. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further we need to do. We've complied with the CDBG guidelines that we hold a public hearing, so Kevin will take it from there.
Correct, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 12, meeting open to the public. I will ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay. Meeting is open to the public. Please state your name and address for the record, and please address your comments to me. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close.
So moved.
Discussion, roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay, item number 13, ordinance for introduction. This is ordinance number 2757, amending ordinance number as noted, establishing a salary range for employee titles to be paid to certain officers and employees of the Borough of Somerville. This is housekeeping. We continually, over the course of the year, adapt our salary guide to make sure that all of our employees are paid within the guidelines. While not required to, I will open up for public comment on item number 2757. Hearing none, close 2757, and motion for introduction,
So
please.
moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, 2755 was tabled as per the beginning of the meeting. 2756, ordinance for public hearing and adoption, is an ordinance to exceed the 2025 municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. Once again, this is housekeeping that we do every year as we go into budget time. I will ask for a motion to open for public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Public hearing on 2756 is now open. Hearing none, we'll close 2750, I will ask for a motion to close 2756.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti.
Yes.
Glenn Zaney.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
So that's the one thing that changed from my first go as mayor. We never had to have the council vote on the introduction. We just, for the public hearing anyway.
For the public hearing.
All right. Did I do the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. So, motion for adoption, please.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Zaney.
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
Okay, consent resolutions. Any to be pulled off for further discussion?
074.
Okay?
I understand Councilman Conti will, his vote will be recorded
Okay, so noted. All right, 72 is amending resolution as noted, approving alcoholic beverage license to reflect legal entity name change for Stevenson D'Alessio, American Legion Post 12, to be submitted for the Division of Alcoholic Beverages for 24-25. 73, supporting publishing legal notices on official government websites. 75, authorizing use of Somerville's procurement card for emergencies as identified by the Office of Emergency Management. 76 is approving amendments to the continuity of operations plan for elections. 77 is authorizing self-examination of the 2025 municipal budget. 78, authorizing a shared service agreement for engineering and related services with the County of Somerset. 79 is approving Girls on the Run Race 5K for June 8, starting at 9:30 a.m. on the corner of East High and Grove. 80, memorializing the Borough Administrator to execute the fiscal year 22 Community Project Funding Grant Agreement as noted. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts.
Yes.
Gina Stravic.
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
And 78 with the recusal as noted.
Yes.
Received.
74 is authorizing submission of a community development block grant application for Carroll Pager Park ball field improvements. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I just was wondering on behalf of the community if we could share what those improvements would be.
Sure, sorry, is the application that's being presented to the CDBG, working with Jason Krasker on. Jason's actually going to be presenting that to the board. That'll include the reorientation of the ball fields for soccer and I'm sorry, for softball and baseball. The idea is right now the skin surface, which includes the home plate area, the pitcher's mound, all the way into the outfield, gets washed out fairly frequently because of wet weather. The idea is to reorientate those fields so that the outfield, which would be grass, and drainage would be put into the grass area that would drain into the brook. So having an outfield grass wouldn't result in the reconstruction of the infield every time there's some significant wet weather. It's actually it's a project that we did meet with SBI on to talk to them about, because normally this is done during baseball season. So the idea would be if we're successful in getting this grant, in addition of another grant that Jason's working on, the idea would be to come back to the borough, depending on the success of those two grants, for a capital amendment in order to make this project happen. And the construction would likely be in July of we're in 25, 26, into July of 27. That's the game plan right now. It's pretty much it's a large project for kind of just turning two fields around, but the value of making that happen would be very important to the league as well as everybody else that uses those fields.
Thank you.
Yeah, so closer to the brook, the speed of the water is greater, and it's just scouring the infields of all of the fields. And the thought is if we can reverse it and put the infields further up, the speed of the water isn't as great. So you might have water rising and coming down, and it's not scouring, and it's not taking out the fences every time there's a major or taking equipment away. So, all right, roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, bills and vouchers, Roger.
I make a motion to approve bills and vouchers in the amount of $1,131,988.78.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Council members Teresa Bonner,
Yes.
Andrew Conti,
Yes.
Glenn Denny,
Yes.
Randy Pitts,
Yes.
Gina Stravic,
Yes.
Roger Vroom.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Pitts, can I entertain a motion for adjournment?
Sorry. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.